Demis Hassabis recently appeared on the Lex Fridman podcast for the second time. They discussed many different topics, but today we're going to be looking at what he had to say with respect to AI risk, his P-Doom, and what Google DeepMind are doing about it, which, if you know me, my opinion is obviously going to be not enough. But let's see what he had to say.
What's your ridiculous question? What's your P-Doom? Probability that human civilization destroys itself.
Well, look, I don't have a... I don't have a P-Doom number. The reason I don't is because I think it would imply a level of precision that is not there. So, I don't know how people are getting their P-Doom numbers. I think it's a kind of a little bit of a ridiculous notion because what I would say is it's definitely non-zero and it's probably non-negligible. So that in itself is pretty sobering. And my view is it's just hugely uncertain. Right? Mm-hmm. What these technologies are going to be able to do, how fast are they going to take off, how controllable they're going to be.
So the first thing Lex asked him is directly for his P-Doom number, which, if you're not familiar, just means the probability of doom as a result of superintelligent AI. So that usually means human extinction. There's a wide range of opinion on this probability, but if you ask AI researchers, the average answer they give is 14.4%, right? That's really high. That's basically 1 in 6. It's Russian roulette. Probably an unacceptable level of risk, right? One weird thing with this that I noticed quite a lot is that when Demis was asked this, he kind of giggles a little bit, right? He gets a bit giddy about it. And this is really not an appropriate reaction when we're talking about literally the death of every man, woman and child on the planet. Especially when the one laughing about it is the one who is at the forefront of accelerating this technology, right? I don't think laughing about this is really an appropriate reaction from the CEO of a frontier AI company. But this kind of reaction is also present amongst even people who are very concerned about AI safety, right? They kind of get giddy when they talk about their P-Doom. I don't think this should happen, right? I think that's representative of a lack of really feeling this problem amongst AI safety people, and we shouldn't, because if ordinary people who are watching someone get giddy talking about their P-Doom, they're like, oh, this is just some nerd talking about some sci-fi shit, right? We shouldn't be giddy about human extinction. But anyway, Demis Hassabis proceeds to give his P-Doom of non-zero, which he's given before. I respect him for saying this. He was also one of the signatories of the open letter from the Centre for AI Safety, which said that mitigating the risk of extinction from AI should be a global priority alongside other societal scale risks such as pandemics and nuclear war. So Demis Hassabis, to his credit, has acknowledged that this is a problem, just like the CEOs of all other major AI companies. But he continues to accelerate the race, which is not on, in my opinion. If you look at the Wikipedia page for P-Doom, you can see a wide range of opinions. There are some people who say it's 0%. That's mental, obviously. The kind of range goes from 5%, 10%, 20%. You have Eliezer Yudkowsky at 95%, I believe. Roman Yapolsky at 99.999%. There's a wide range of opinions, but the take-home message is that it's not that the debate over the likelihood of this outcome shows that there's nothing to worry about. It shows that, yes, there is a huge amount to worry about. If serious, intelligent people, most of them are saying, yeah, there's like a 10% plus chance of literal human extinction. We should stand up and take that very seriously. And sowing doubt about this issue is one of the tactics that was employed by the tobacco industry, by the CFC industry, to say, oh, well, there's not a scientific consensus on it yet, so we shouldn't have regulation. Well, yeah, we should have regulation because the lack of scientific consensus shows that we can't be sure that these superintelligent AI systems are going to be safe. And the consequences of getting this wrong are so colossal that we should be taking a careful, considered approach, and we should not be rushing into this because we're not sure yet. Okay.
Some things may turn out to be, and hopefully, way easier than we thought. Right. But it may be there's some really hard problems that are harder than we guessed today. And I think we don't know that for sure.
Demis then says that there are some problems that may be harder than we think, others that may be easier than we think. Of course, this is true. We can't predict the future with that degree of accuracy. We will be wrong about how hard we think some problems are going to be. But I would like Demis Hassabis to say up front, how hard he thinks the alignment problem is. Most people think it is very hard, and we are very many decades away from having anything resembling a solution to it. So I would love to hear what Demis's how hard he thinks the alignment problem is. There's not a single person on the planet that knows how to control superintelligent AI. There's not a single person on the planet that knows how to align it with human values. Even if we had figured that problem out, what values do we align it to? That's a problem that remains unsolved. Yes, some problems may be easier than we think, but it is unlikely that controlling super intelligent AI is going to turn out to be easy, right? That seems just very hard to do from first principles.
And so under those conditions of a lot of uncertainty, but huge stakes both ways, on the one hand, we could solve all diseases, energy problems, the scarcity problem, and then travel to the stars and consciousness of the stars and maximum human flourishing. On the other hand, is this sort of P-doom scenarios. So given the uncertainty around it and the importance of it, it's clear to me the only rational, sensible approach is to proceed with cautious optimism.
So then Demis says, we need to proceed with cautious optimism. And this is a great line, right? It's like a good rhetoric. But what does it actually mean, right? Optimism or pessimism, they just shouldn't enter this conversation. They shouldn't enter any conversation about policy or about research. We should be realistic, right? It doesn't matter what we want to be true. What matters is what is true. And optimism and pessimism will blind our ability to see what is true. So I don't care if you're optimistic. I want you to be realistic. I want you to stare the problems in the face. And if we can't tackle them, then let's not put ourselves in a position where they're going to become a problem, right? So this kind of cautious optimism is the same kind of lines we hear from many politicians, because they've been listening to the CEOs of these AI companies where they say, oh, we need to minimize the risks while maximizing the benefits. Like, it's just meaningless comments, right? You need to stare these problems in the face, because if you don't, they're going to come and bite you in the bum. We have to be willing to accept truths, even if they are inconvenient, even if they are uncomfortable. We can't just want it to be true that AI will increase GDP by 3% every year. That would be good if that was all it was going to do, right? But we need to be honest with ourselves, listen to what the experts are saying, and be willing to take action to prevent catastrophic risks. And that's what the experts are telling us is going to happen if we don't have regulation that prevents it. Optimism and pessimism are irrelevant. What matters is what is true.
And actually, I would be really worried for humanity if given the other challenges that we have, climate, disease, aging, resources, all of that, if I didn't know something like AI was coming down the line, right? How would we solve all those other problems? I think it's hard. So I think it could be amazingly transformative for good.
Demis then goes on to mention a favorite of mine, which is that AI will help solve other existential threats and other problems that humanity is facing. Now, like, yes, this would be true, absolutely, if we had an aligned general intelligence and aligned superintelligence. It would be able to help us solve many of the problems we face. It would be able to help us decrease the rate of diseases. It would be able to help us improve our kind of defense mechanisms against asteroids and things like this, right? But what this kind of comment fails to really give enough information on is what they think the chance of extinction over the coming 100 years, for example, is without any superintelligent coming along and helping us solve these problems, right? The leading book on existential risk, The Precipice by Toby Ord, I can show the exact probabilities on the screen right now, but I think he had AI at 1 in 10. The next we're at, I'm actually going to look it up now so I can tell you rather than guess. So here we are. Unaligned artificial intelligence was put at 1 in 10. The next most likely risk was engineered pandemics in a tie with unforeseen anthropogenic risks. But you can see things like climate change and nuclear war only at 1 in 1,000, right? These are very high probabilities given the stakes, right? They are important and we should consider them and we should try to mitigate these risks. But it is unlikely that we are going to go extinct over the next 100 years without just risking it all on some super intelligent AI that maybe will solve all our problems, right? So what I would like people to do who present this argument is say whether they agree with these numbers or not. If you have good reasons to think that P-doom without AI is like 50% over the next 100 years, well, then maybe it becomes less risky to develop superintelligence than to go without it, right? But I think that is a crazy number. That is an absolutely crazy number. And again, especially given that we have no idea how to align superintelligent AI with our values, just developing it doesn't mean we're going to solve these problems, because without solving that problem first, it will not want to solve these problems for us, because it will not care about us. We don't know how to make it care about us.
But on the other hand, there are these risks that we know are there, but we can't quite quantify. So the best thing to do is to use the scientific method to do more research, to try and more precisely define those risks and, of course, address them. And I think that's what we're doing. I think there probably needs to be 10 times more effort on that than there is now, as we're getting closer and closer to the AGI line.
So Demis then says that we should be using the scientific method to better understand the risks, and he says that's what we're doing, right? And while it is true that Google DeepMind are doing some safety research, right, and most AI companies are, it's a pathetic effort compared to the amount of resources they're putting into pushing forward the frontier of the capabilities of their models, right? If you're really serious about understanding these risks and coming up with solutions to them, then stop fucking accelerating and put your efforts into actual safety research. No one knows how to control superintelligent AI. I'm going to keep saying this because it's true and it needs to be said. We can't just assume that a solution is going to pop up out of thin air once we have superintelligent AI. No, this is something we need to solve before getting there. And Demis Hassabis and the CEOs of the other AI companies, they are with every new model that comes out, they are pushing us one step closer to superintelligent AI, whilst they're investing, I don't know the exact percentage of their resources, but probably a few percentage points of their total resources are being spent on safety research. That's not enough. We need to solve these problems before they materialize.
What would be the source of worry for you more? Would it be human caused or AGI caused?
Yeah.
Humans abusing the technology versus AGI itself through mechanism that you've spoken about, which is fascinating, deception or this kind of stuff,
yes,
getting better and better and better secretly, and then
I think they operate over different timescales, and they're equally important to address. So there's just the common cardinal variety of bad actors using new technology, in this case general purpose technology, and repurposing it for harmful ends, and that's a huge risk. And I think that has a lot of complications because generally, I'm in huge favor of open science and open source, and in fact we did it with all our science projects like AlphaFold and all of those things for the benefit of the scientific community. But how does one restrict bad actors access to these powerful systems, whether they're individuals or even rogue states, but enable access at the same time to good actors to maximally build on top of? It's a pretty tricky problem that I've not heard a clear solution to. So there's the bad actor use case problem, and then there's obviously as the systems become more agentic and closer to AGI and more autonomous, how do we ensure the guardrails and they stick to what we want them to do and under our control?
Demis says it's a pretty tricky problem that I've not heard a clear solution to. So why are you accelerating? Why are you accelerating? If we don't have solutions to these problems where bad actors are going to be able to get access to models, they're going to be able to use them to create bioweapons, they're going to be able to use them to hack into infrastructure. These are problems that we don't have solutions to. Yes, I agree with you, Demis. So stop making the problems worse by accelerating.
It's a hard problem. I mean, look, we can maybe also use the technology itself to help early warning on some of the bad actor use cases, right? Whether that's bio or nuclear or whatever it is, like AI could be potentially helpful there as long as the AI that you're using is itself reliable.
And then they say, oh, well, we could use AI to solve these problems. Again, this is just wishful thinking. This is not a real plan. Like, yes, in theory, we could use AI to solve these problems if general superintelligent AI were aligned with our values, right? But we don't know how to do that. That's the problem we need to solve. Yeah, once we have that, we can use superintelligent AI to solve lots of the problems that we'll have. But we don't know how to do that first step. So don't assume that we're going to be able to use AI to solve our problems if you don't know how to align it with our values, right? And this is actually like one of the main alignment plans amongst AI researchers is using AI to solve alignment. Again, this is not a robust plan that it will hold up to scrutiny. We need better plans than this. This is just wishful thinking. We need a better plan than that. And it's not responsible of the CEO of a company that is pushing forward the frontier of this technology to just say, oh, we'll just use AI to solve the problems. No, you tell us how you're going to solve these problems. If you don't have an answer, then we should have a global treaty that stops you from being able to push forward the frontier of these capabilities, because we matter and we don't want your technology posing all this extra risk on us. Not only risk of bad actors creating pathogens, hacking into key infrastructure around the world, but also poses a risk of extinction through rogue superintelligent AI that you don't know how to control, you don't know how to align.
It's a sort of interlocking problem, and that's what makes it very tricky. And again, it may require some agreement internationally, at least between China and the US, of some basic standards.
Again, to Demis's credit here, he then mentions that it would be good if there were some kind of global treaty between the US and China, and that these problems may require that kind of global treaty in order to be solved. So what are you doing? Fucking advocate for that treaty. Put your efforts into advocating for this treaty, into driving political momentum behind it, into public advocacy. If you're not doing that, we will face death by procrastination, right? It's all well and good when the CEOs of these companies say, oh yeah, it would be really good if we had regulation. Oh yeah, we need international cooperation. Well, fucking advocate for it. This work is not going to get done by itself. We're not just going to one day wake up and, oh, look at that. The US and China have signed a global treaty that pauses frontier AI development and doesn't allow AI companies to train models of using computing power above 10 to the 26 flops unless they can offer proof of safety beforehand. We're not just going to wake up into a world where that treaty has materialized. It needs work now. And if people don't put the work in, it's not going to happen, and we will die due to procrastination. So obviously, we cannot rely on the CEOs of these AI companies to end up advocating for this treaty and getting it over the line. It's the work of the rest of us. The CEOs of these AI companies are blinded by the prospect of short-term power, short-term wealth, short-term influence, and playing with their cool toys. It's up to us, ordinary people, and it's up to politicians to get these global treaties over the line, because the CEOs are not going to do it. Full stop. And again, that requires us being willing to stare this problem in the face, us being willing to ask the CEOs of these AI companies, how are you going to control AI once it is smarter than us? How are you going to make sure it's acting in our interest? If you can't do that, we're not going to allow you to build a model that's that powerful. It's up to us to continue to push for these treaties, and the polling shows, luckily, that the public are in favor of all of these kinds of treaties, right? They are in favor of outlawing superintelligent AI. They are in favor of slowing down development. They are in favor of AI companies having to prove their models are safe before they're allowed to release them. They are in favor of all of these very sensible policies, but it's not at the top of the political agenda right now. It's up to us to get it to the top of the political agenda, because if it's not there, or if it's not near there, it's very unlikely that we're going to get actual regulation that will protect us. And again, we will die by procrastination. Please, if you are watching this, you can join me at Pause AI. We are a grassroots organization across 13 or more different countries now. And we are contacting our politicians. We are educating the public. And we are trying to build momentum for these kinds of treaties. There are plenty of other organizations. There are plenty of other ways you can help. But if you are watching this and you are concerned about this, this work is not going to get done by itself. It requires ordinary people like you, like me, to continue to speak up for this, continue to say what is true, continue to call out these AI companies for their reckless practices, and continue to advocate for the popular common sense policies that are going to protect humanity and that are enforceable and verifiable. And we have plenty of research that is going into that now. The more people that are working on this, the better. And the key skill that's lacking is not some technical knowledge. It's just the ability to be willing to do something a little bit outside your comfort zone. If you are that person, use that ability. Use that ability. It's so valuable, and we need more people like this, like me doing this YouTube video. It's not the most comfortable thing in the world. It's pushing me a little bit outside my comfort zone, right? But I feel a need to get this issue up the political agenda, to make it a common conversation amongst people, to make it something that ordinary people are asking their politicians what they're doing about it, right? We need to push it up the political agenda. If that's not happening, we're not going to get the regulation. Very simple. Work needs to be done. And I hope you can join me in doing that work. And Demis Hassabis, as the CEO of Google DeepMind, they were one of the companies that signed on to the Frontier AI safety commitments at the AI Seoul Summit in 2024. They have since broken those commitments. So even the voluntary commitments that Google DeepMind has agreed to that aren't legally binding, they have failed to stick to them. They failed to live up to them. And the UK government, who was instrumental in getting these commitments to be signed by the AI companies, they haven't even acknowledged that Google DeepMind hasn't lived up to these commitments. They said they would be transparent about how external bodies are testing their models. They said they would release safety testing. They didn't release safety testing when they first released their Gemini 2.5 Pro model. They've later released some safety testing, but they haven't mentioned whether external bodies were involved in testing. Even when asked by journalists, they refused to say. So again, these companies cannot be relied on with voluntary commitments. We need legally binding regulation that makes sure AI is developed safely, because failing that, again, these AI companies are just going to do what they've been doing, which is continue to accelerate, continue to put minimal effort into safety, and to lobby against regulation, most regulation, and just to fail to genuinely consider the consequences of continuing this race in the way it is. But again, it's up to us, ordinary people, to get this regulation over the line, to protect us, to protect our families, and protect the rest of humanity and all the other sentient beings that inhabit this planet. So this was my first long form video on this channel. Please tell me what you think. Please tell me what other videos you'd like me to make. I've been making a few short form videos, but yeah, as I said, I'm trying to do a bit more, and I think that there's kind of a niche that hasn't been filled yet on YouTube, which is just some guy sitting in front of his computer being filmed talking about what AI CEOs did, or reacting to news and stuff. That's a bit of a niche that hasn't been filled yet. I hope I can do that. If you think you can do it better than me, please pick up a camera and do it. The more people that are on all the social media platforms talking about this, the better, so we can cross-reference each other, and algorithms want to show people content where they can show them similar content after that video, right? So the more people we have talking about the extinction threat from AI, the more popular each video is going to get. Thanks for watching. Again, any feedback, write it down below, or message me wherever you can find me. But yeah, I'll see you in the next one.